and a welcome to everyone who's joined us this afternoon for our Small Business Grants webinar. Um, the objectives of our webinar this afternoon is for you to learn about the general business grant requirements you must meet in order to qualify for a round 2 grant. You will also understand the differences between each grant to help you decide which one you want to pursue. And we're also going to give you some tips for applying and submitting your application. Just a little bit of background on our Glendale Small Business Grants Program. This past June, the Glendale City Council allocated $1.6 million in federal and local funding to assist small businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. An additional $650,000 was recently added, bringing the total to $2.25 million. Round 1 applications closed in July 2020, and funding is currently being dispersed to qualified applicants. Round 2 applications will open in November 2020. The first grant will open up next week. That's the low income small business grant. And then on the 16th of November, the small business recovery grant will open. So as I mentioned, the Glendale Small Business Grant Program consists of 2 grants. The first is the Low Income Small Business Grant. This grant is funded through Community Development Block Grant funding, which is federal funding, and it's targeting low to moderate income business owners and businesses that employ low to moderate employees. Again, the application period is November 2nd through the 6th. The Small Business Recovery Grant Program, that one is funded through Measure S. It's a local funding. It targets businesses, including nonprofits with the exclusion of houses of worship, with 500 employees or less. And the application period is November 16th through the 20th. Right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the general eligibility criteria for both grants. The grant amount for each grant is a one-time payment of $5,000. The grants will be awarded to qualified applicants on a lottery basis. Businesses may only apply for one grant, otherwise they risk disqualification. You cannot apply for one grant one week and then apply for another grant the following week. We are going to be doing cross-checks. Round 1 small business grant recipients are not eligible for round 2 funding. The business must be located in a property zoned for commercial use and not in a private residence. The business must have a business registration certificate, BRC, or be in the process of obtaining one. So this is what a business registration certificate looks like. It says business registration certificate. In the previous round, we had people giving us reseller permits, zoning certificates. Your certificate needs to say business registration certificate. If you do not have a BRC and plan on applying for a grant, apply now because it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get that BRC. So we recommend, again, if you don't have one and plan on applying for a grant, apply now at www.glendale.hdlgov.com. And we also want to point out that any businesses who are disqualified in round 1 for not having a lease agreement or a BRC may reapply for either grant. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Maggie Kavarian, who's going to talk a little bit more about the low-income small business grant eligibility criteria.
Thank you, Juan. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to learn about this opportunity to apply for the low-income small business grant. To give you a little bit of background, this grant is made available through the federal government's CARES Act for the Community Development Block Grant Program, which we know as CDBG. So if I continually say CDBG, it's this program. When you are considering applying for this grant, you must understand the specific criteria that goes along with federal funding. That's really what you're looking at with this particular grant. So let's just go over some of those bullet points, and I can kind of drill that down a little bit more for the viewers. So application period, like Juan had mentioned, is November 2nd through the 6th. Now, businesses could have between 1 and 25 employees. Now, something to consider, 51% of the workforce have to be between low and moderate income, and this can include the owner of the business. And I'll get into that a little bit deeper in the next slide. The business must have been in operation for at least 1 year as of November 2nd. Now, one thing that comes with federal funding, businesses must not have received federal pandemic funding at the time that you apply. You can be waiting for your status, but you are not allowed to apply for this funding if you've already received federal funds. The CDBG program considers that a duplication of benefits, and it's not allowed. It's a disallowed application. So please keep that in mind when you're considering whether to apply for this grant or the one that Juan had mentioned earlier. Now, businesses must also be described as non-essential under the safer at home restrictions or a restaurant. Another thing to consider, applicants must be a legal resident of the United States. This is also part of the federal funding. You must show proof of that when you do apply, and you will be asked that question.
Maggie,
yes, sir.
Before we go on to the next slide, can we give our viewers an example of some of the types of non-essential businesses that we've given funding to in round one? As an example.
As an example, the best example I can give are small mom and pop operations like nail salons, barber shops. We had a small tea business. We had one travel agency that applied that had 2 employees. So those would be considered non-essential under the safer at home restrictions and are totally qualified to apply. And of course, reach out to City of Glendale, and we'll give you all that information later so you can understand the differences between essential and non-essential. So let's get into and drill down the low income. We call it low income, but it truthfully means low to moderate income. So let me tell you what that means. So basically, the slide here that we have reflects the 2020 income limits for LA County. So when you consider applying and you consider the number of employees you have, including yourself, they have to look at this chart according to their household. So when they look at their household and assuming they have 4 people that live at home, they can fall under, if you go to the 4 persons, you can fall under level 1, level 2, or level 3. That's considered low to moderate income. There's nothing wrong with falling under level 4. The only thing that goes with this program is 51% of your workforce has to be low to moderate income. So if you can demonstrate, if there are 2 employees, so let's assume it's you and 1 employee. Let's just say it's 2 people that work there. If it's you and 1 other person, that means both of you have to be low to moderate income because you have to have 51% threshold. You have to meet that threshold. So those are the things to consider. How do you do that? Well, you have to show proof. you have to have source documentation that shows what your income is for that year. Usually tax returns are the best way that you can provide that. And of course, we will look at other types of documentation and we'll work with you to provide that source documentation or verify that source documentation. Other than that, that's really what I want. If you are considering applying for this program, it's the low to moderate income that business owners need to consider. So again, think about your workforce, think about the number of people you have, and are they willing to provide that source documentation to show their household income? Because they will, it's not just themselves that they're going to be counting, but it's their family members, spouse, children who are over 18 years old that live in the home. So those are the things to consider. We're going to take questions afterwards. If you do have questions afterwards, I will be here to answer them. Thank you, Juan. I'm going to take it, if we can take it away.
And now we're going to talk about the Small Business Recovery Grant. As I mentioned earlier, the application period will be November 16th through November 20th. We do want to point out that any business who was previously disqualified in round one for receiving federal funding may reapply. So if you receive a PPP grant, an SBA loan, an EIDL loan, or an EIDL advanced loan, you are eligible to apply for a round two grant for the Small Business Recovery Grant only. We're looking for businesses that have 1 to 500 employees. The business must have been operating for a minimum of 6 months as of November 16th. And various types of businesses are eligible, including nonprofits, excluding houses of worship. We recommend that you review the full program guidelines for the list of ineligible businesses. They're available on our website, and we will have that in an upcoming slide for you. So now that we've gone over the two grants and the qualifications, you probably want to know, how do you apply for a grant online? If you've already applied for in a previous round, this will be a refresher course. But for, let's just say our audience today has never applied for a grant, the first thing you need to do is go to waitlistcheck.com. That is our vendor that's going to be conducting the online lottery for us. So you need to create an account at www.waitlistcheck.com. And when creating your account, please, please, please save your username and password. You're going to need them throughout the process to submit your application, as well as checking on the status of your application. So make sure you keep those in a safe place. Once you've established that account, you need to go to our website, the economic development website. It is www.chooseglendaleca.com. When you go to our website, here's a screen capture of it. You will see a listing of both grants. The application periods are listed. The basic grant requirements are listed. And then we have a link to the full program guidelines. We recommend that you take a look at the full program guidelines just to make sure you meet all the criteria, and also a lot of the questions you may have will be answered there. Once you have done that, you click on the orange apply here button. And it's going to remind you, you can only apply for one grant, and you click on the grant that you want to apply for, and it will take you to the online grant application. We ask that you please read all the instructions carefully and log in with the username and password you created at waitlistcheck.com. It's going to start off with some basic information and demographic questions. And one thing to do, we had a number of calls when people were applying. They were saying, oh, it's not letting me go on to the next screen. We ask that you check to see if there's a save button at the bottom of the screen. If there's a save button, hit save, and it'll allow you to move on to the next screen. When you get to the pre-qualifying statements, answer them with a yes or with a no. And then finally, you submit click. You'll receive an email confirmation that your application was received. Again, save this confirmation. It is going to tell you what grant you applied for. It's going to tell you your reference number, and put it in a safe spot because you will be using this to look up your status once the lottery list has been established. So the timeline for our small business grants round 2 program, again, low income small business grant applications open this coming Monday, November 2nd at 12 noon. They're going to close November 6th, the Friday at 12 noon. The small business recovery grant applications will open Monday, November 16th at 12 noon and close Friday, November 20th at 12 noon. The lottery results will be announced December 8th at 12 noon. At that point, you can log into waitlistcheck.com and you can see what position you are on the lottery list. As long as you are here, we'd like to let you know about a couple of other small grants that are available to small businesses. The first is a $500 PPE reimbursement grant. This grant is reimbursable up to $500 per business to reimburse you for purchase of personal protective equipment. We have funding for 900 brick and mortar businesses. We are going to ask for receipts. Applications are ongoing, and you can go to our website for more info, www.chooseglendaleca.com/PPEP program. And we then also have a business association grant. Eligible associations will receive a $15,000 grant to assist with operational costs. 15 grants are available on a first come, first served basis. The applicant must have been in operation for at least 5 years and have an active board of directors. And the applicant must have a membership of a minimum of 10 businesses and or 100 employees. So if you want more information about that, you can go to www.chooseglendaleca.com/business association grant. So right now we are gonna open it up to the audience and see if there are any questions for either of the panelists. Ani, do we have any questions?
I do have some questions. I was able to answer some, but I can definitely repeat it again. Do local church congregations also need a BRC? Yes, every business conducting business in the city of Glendale needs a BRC. So it does not matter which business grant you apply for. Both grants need a BRC because if you are conducting business here in the city of Glendale, that's a necessary license that you do need. Another question was, is a PPP loan federally funded? Yes, a PPP loan is federally funded. So if you did receive an SBA or a PPP loan, you would not qualify for the CDBG grant. You would qualify for the Small Business Measure S grant that Juan was speaking about. Another question was, let's see here. Can local churches apply for both grants? Unfortunately, you can only apply for one grant or it will disqualify you.
And
go ahead, Juan.
Local churches are not eligible for the small business recovery grant. They are houses of worship. Houses of worship are not eligible.
Thank you, Juan. What is the website for the grant? Please provide the link. We'll have Juan type that in if possible, please.
Sure. Oh man, what did I do? Sorry about that. I'm gonna go over it again. It's www.glendaleca.com/small business grants. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Sorry, that actually is not the correct link. I will provide the correct link to you shortly.
It wasn't?
The next question was, I don't have an account with waitlistchecklist.com. You can create one.
Yes, they just go to waitlistcheck.com and click create account.
Next question is, do BRC licenses expire? I have one from when I originally opened my business. Is that enough? Yes, your BRC license does expire. There is a fee associated for with the BRC. When you first apply, it's a $265 fee. Every year after that, as you're supposed to renew it, it's only a $59 fee. If your license is expired, we will not be accepting that. It needs to be a current license, a current BRC. And I'm sorry, the website was correct. Yes, it's glendalec.com/small business grant.
Okay.
and there's another one, which is chooseglendaleca.com/small business grants. How can I apply for a new account with waitlistchecklist.com? When I click on, do you have an account? It does not take me to a form to apply. Is there a phone number for the company for assistance?
I will, if they give us their contact info, I will reach out to them and help them. So if you can type in your contact info into the chat, I'll get back to you.
Next question is there a fee waiver given that we are requesting grants at this tough time? Unfortunately, there is not a fee waiver for the BRC because, as mentioned, this is a license that you need in order to operate your business here in the city of Glendale. We will not be waiving fees. Can you please provide the website? Yes, the website was provided. It's chooseglendaleca.com/small business grants. Another question is, just to clarify, a business that received PPP and SBA loan is only eligible for the a small business grant, correct? That is correct. You will not qualify through the CDBG grant, so please make sure you're submitting your application for the right grant if you received funding.
And I want to add in, if you have any questions, you can contact us at 818-548-2067 during our regular office hours, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Fridays 8 to 5. Staff are available. If you have questions, if you're not sure which grant you should be applying for, reach out to us after office hours. There's a recording. Please leave a message or email us at smallbusinessgrants@glendaleca.gov.
Great. Juan, another question is, I have a home occupation permit. Do I need a license? And both grants are for businesses that are located on commercial property. Unfortunately, if your business is a home-based business at this time, you will not be eligible for both grants. Another question is, do you require a business license or occupancy permit in Glendale? It is a business registration certificate. If your business is a home-based business, I believe you are referring to the home occupation permit.
But we just want to clarify, home-based business are not eligible for this grant program.
Yes, both grants are based on a lottery application. Businesses are virtual and now at home. If you are not on a commercial property, you will not qualify for this grant, unfortunately. Any other questions? As Juan mentioned, you can contact us at 818-548-2067 or email us at smallbusinessgrant@glendaleca.gov.
And with that, we want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. I want to thank Ani and Maggie for joining in. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out with questions so we can help guide you in the direction you need to go in order to apply for the grant you need to apply for. With that, on behalf of the City of Glendale, the Economic Development Division, and the Community Services and Park Division, we want to thank you for joining us, and we wish you well and luck in applying for these grants. And hopefully in December, some of you will be getting good news from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.